Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the movie Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And I fucking love this one. I'm pretty much good on saying that this is my favorite movie out of Marvel's Phase 4 that has come out so far. It nails what it needs to do. It tells a good story while focusing mainly on Doctor Strange, also introducing the new character of America Chavez, and doing a pretty decent job, in my opinion, of setting her up as we're getting more development on Strange's front and seeing him grow and develop as a hero, but also having her introduced as well as a new younger cohort of hero kind of person to have in there as well. And it just works very well with what it does. It builds off things that have come before, but it is within its own kind of right, self-contained. It does get nutty as shit. It's definitely a horror movie. There's horror shit that goes on in here. And you see a lot of Evil Dead kind of references and stylistic stuff because of director Sam Raimi. But it balances it well enough of having a nice throughput of having very good character focus on what's kind of driving the action here. It's not like it's just focusing on spectacle for the sake of spectacle. There are kind of character motivations that are going on behind and what's going on for like certain extreme kind of things. Now, I know there's a lot of big talk and everything about like the multiverse and everything like that. However, it doesn't get so unwieldy, and it actually works within this kind of context for what's going on with Doctor Strange. He deals with weird, crazy ass shit all the time, and it's not like it completely fucks with the plot. They do a nice job of interweaving everything going forward. So you're probably like, why are you wearing a jacket? Well, this also does awesome stuff, and because I kind of wanted like a cloak of levitation kind of shit going on, and this was the kind of closest thing I had. But I really fucking loved this one. I liked what we got and what was achieved of what happened here. Now, outside of the movie itself, which I'm like, yeah, can't wait to get into and really dive into what goes on with it. When I went to go see this, the normal kind of advertised ticket prices were like $9. However, when I got there, it was now $10 because it's new. We're at the night, and it's like, oh, it's a big movie, so we're going to charge more. Now, I understand that things are fluctuating and there's inflation and everything is insane with what things cost. However, I've looked into other kind of stuff, and this kind of shit was also pulled with the Batman. However, I either wasn't aware of it or it didn't hit my theater when it was going on with this kind of thing. So, just to let you know on that, since I saw it opening night, I don't know if it's going to change up. Since I saw it last night, if it's going to go down or if it's going to go up, or if this is going to be a continuing trend of like, hey, this is going to be a popular movie, we're going to increase the price. And I'm like, okay, $10 is already a third of the price of a 4K Blu-ray in certain instances, like $30. If you go for just your regular Blu-ray, that's $20 usually, depending upon various different kind of editions. You would almost, I would not blame you for, you know what, I'll just wait for it to be on Disney Plus or on some other streaming service, whatever kind of like new hotness kind of movie comes out, and wait for that, because it's getting, that's like ridiculous, because with me going to either watching it on a streaming service or watching it on physical media of like Blu-ray or whatnot, I can then set the tone of like what I can see with the movie and pausing and actually turning on like subtitles or whatnot, because there are certain instances that I have missed things that have gone on in this movie, and I actually do want to see it a couple more times. So even though this is a review of it, there's a lot of shit that I'm gonna be missing, and if I've missed it, fucking talk to me and like bring it up, because I love this movie, and if there's certain things that I missed that are bad, that are quality-wise, definitely bring it to my attention. And if there's good things too, bring it to my attention. I always love to like make sure that I know what I'm talking about on things. But I want you guys to know that, and to be wary of it for your own theaters and for what's going on with movies like this. Because I understand that, like, movie theaters got thunderfucked by, like, what's been going on with the pandemic. However, if we see that movie prices are increasing $1 here, $1 there every so often, like, the big test is going to be the next Thor movie, which, yeah, I'm interested in seeing, but if it gets to $11, $12, God forbid $13 by the time we hit July, it's really going to change up how I view and what I think of doing for movies, i.e. that I would wait longer and just find either old stuff to review, or just my reviews will be later in how it's going to be seen, because they're Marvel movies. Depending upon, like, how it kind of works out, I definitely want to see them to see what they're kind of doing for the things. So sorry for that little fucking thing in there, but I kind of wanted to get that out of the way so that people have that in their minds for what's going on and know to guard themselves with what's going, so that way you can accurately judge if you want to go out and see this, depending if your movie theaters are complete, like, goes nutty on it. So, into the movie proper. We start off and we see what is dubbed the Defender Strange taking America Chavez, and they're running from something. It's trying to get her power because she is able to jump through the multiverse, which we learned throughout the movie nobody else really can do that, except for various different kind of other ways. She can physically move between universes, and that becomes kind of problematic because of what we kind of learned throughout the film. But we see this demon creature thing, like, trying to get her, and Strange is doing his damnedest to, well, Defender Strange is doing his damnedest to kind of, like, protect her from everything, but he gets injured and kind of corrupted at one thing, and he's got the creature in kind of like a lockdown mode, but he's like, I can't let this creature take your power, and decides to try and take America Chavez's power to keep it under control, because she cannot control her powers at this point. It's usually whenever she is in a life or death kind of fearful situation that her powers activate. And she's like, I trusted you, and the thing is, if they take her power, she dies. So Strange starts trying to do that, but again, the creature gets loose, Chavez activates her powers, Strange gets killed, and she then gets sucked into the MCU universe, which we later on in the film learn has the designation of 616, the usual kind of one that is in the the Marvel Comics is one. So it's kind of cool to see that going on. So that kind of then dovetails to where we see Strange wake up from a dream, and we learn that dreams are very important because you are actually, when you're dreaming in the Marvel universe, you can actually go and are looking through various different kind of multiversal parts of, like, your other kind of variants throughout the multiverse and their lives. So it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Then we learned that one of the things for Chavez is she doesn't dream like that. She is the only one. So that definitely lends to some interesting kind of things going on with that. We'll have to see what kind of repercussions that allows her to pretty much travel throughout different kind of multiversal dimensions and keep away from certain repercussions. So we see that Strange wakes up, he gets dressed, he gets snazzy and everything, and we see that he goes to Christine Palmer's wedding. And he gets talking with the other doctor that he was a colleague with, and we learned that he got dusted, his cats died, his brother died, and he's like, was there no other way for you to do what he did, like, do everything to defeat Thanos? He's like, no, there wasn't. And we get, like, a reoccurring theme of, like, examining what Strange does and how he kind of operates throughout the movie. And we see Christine come in. She looks like she's having a great kind of day for her wedding day. It was really kind of weird because the person she married kind of looked like Mordo from the back. I didn't get a good look at him until later on when he's, like, seeing what's kind of going on in the streets of New York. I'm just like, what the fuck? But I'm like, Strange would be kind of, like, on guard and be like, Christine, don't marry Mordo. What the fuck? But he's then getting a drink at the bar, and Christine comes up, kind of talks with him and everything. He says he's sorry that things didn't work out with them, and Christine brings up the thing of like, listen, I respected you for what you could do with the scalpel, but you always had to be the one with the scalpel, i.e. in control and doing that kind of stuff. And she just hopes that he's happy, and he says that he's happy, but you kind of really get that kind of feeling that he isn't. And we learn that that is a big kind of thing and examined throughout the rest of the adventures going on here. So we see that things start going kind of nutty. They hear shit going on in New York. He kind of goes out, sees what's going on, and he's like, all right, I got to handle this. Puts his drink down. He's got this red, napkin kind of thing in his pocket, but he pulls it out as the cloak of levitation, gets all in his, Doctor Strange outfit, flies off, and we see that America Chavez is, this is where we've seen a lot of the stuff in the trailers, Gargantos, based on Shumagorath. This 10 octopus kind of thing trying to go for her. And then we see Strange utilizing magic in really kind of cool ways. That's a very big positive that I've got for this movie. It goes balls fucking out for how magic is done. Like, they explore it in various different kind of ways in this movie, which is what you need to do with a magical based character. Like, seeing how he opens up this bus to kind of see, hey, there's this kind of girl here and needs to get out of here, and then utilizing what he's learned, buzzsawing through the bus and everything, is like, all right, let's kind of deal with this. She, of course, is leery because the last Doctor Strange she met tried to fucking kill her ass, so I'm like, yeah, I understand, yeah. And Strange's like, I don't know what's going on, what the fuck is up with this, octopus thing? And then he kind of gets indisposed, but of course Wong comes in as the Sorcerer Supreme, acting like a badass, doing his own kind of stuff, and I'm glad that Wong gets his kind of doing here as well. He's like, yeah, I gotta deal with this fucking shit. Because that's what happens when you're the Sorcerer Supreme. And they start tag teaming. Chavez has tried to get out and get away from everything, but they're able to take down the monster because Strange is able to utilize this pole and pokes out his eye, and it comes out, man, and it's bloody, and I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be interesting, kind of. That was my setup of what's kind of going on, and it goes. So he's able to get Chavez to kind of trust him a little bit. They go and get some pizza and everything like that, and he's like, how are you able to even eat? Because she kind of gives him a lowdown. They make some cracks about Spider-Man and everything. She thinks that he would shoot webs out of his ass. And even Stranger's like, I don't know if he does. And that was a kind of funny little moment. But it just, even though that is a sore spot for me of what happened in Spider-Man No Way Home, I was like, okay, funny kind of dialogue. She's like, yeah, I usually try and find food and everything, and I've got no problems at this point. And she's bringing up that these things are trying to pretty much take her power and all that, all these runes and everything. She shows them the dead Doctor Strange. Like, all right, I'm going to bury him and everything. So they do bury him because it's like, all right, let's kind of see what's going on with this thing. Because we did see that it was infected with something, but we didn't. It's more of kind of a red herring. We see kind of what goes on later on, but they bury it. I'm like, all right. The stuff was dealt with runes. That's usually witchcraft. Let's get her to Camartage, and I will go talk to Wanda and see if she knows anything and if she could help us out and everything. So we then see Strange go. She brings up the whole Westview kind of thing that was all going on with WandaVision, and he's like, no, you dealt with that situation. We kind of have a bigger kind of thing. Asks her about the multiverse and everything, and Strange is like, what? We can tell that Strange feels that something's kind of off. Now, granted, I only get this after I'm talking about and ruminating on what's been going on, but he's gives her the kind of lowdown on the girl without mentioning her name, and the thing is, Wanda slips up and mentions the name, and she's like, damn it, the hex was good, but it was the line. And the thing is, we learned that she has been sending these creatures and demons after her because she wants the power, so that way she can have the kids that she had in Westview. And she's like, listen, just give me the girl. And he's like, but you'll kill her if you take her powers. She didn't care. And we slowly see that all the things that have been building up with Wanda all this stuff that she's gone through has pretty much broken her because of like the trauma and the traumatic events and everything, and she's like, I want my kids. And I get it, I understand it, I sympathize with her, but I do not condone that at all. It's like, oh, you're gonna like kill this girl so that way you can have these kids that you can't have, that you like, granted they do exist within the vast multiverse, but it's like, man, she's like, just give me the girl and it's reasonable. And we see her hex falls away, and we've seen that everything she's been doing with the Darkhold has been corrupting her and corrupting everything around her. It's like, god damn, this is fucking shit up. Because we even start seeing that it is affecting like her fingertips, as turning them black and everything. It's like, oh shit, that ain't good. So Strange gets to Camartage. They're setting everything up for defenses and all that. They're like, alright, let's kind of do this. And she pops up and like, listen, I have been reasonable. And then she starts going at him. She does not give a shit. She wants her kids. And she needs the multiversal power, because she kind of explains later on, she's like, well, what if they get sick at all? Then I can just pop to a universe that's got a cure for whatever they've got, and I can keep them there forever, pretty much. It's like, yeah, but there's going to be a point where you can't do everything. And we see that understanding. It's a nice examination of, even though these people have great power, they still have this need to control things to such a degree that it's like, you can control certain things, but you cannot control it to this kind of thing. And she just goes full on villain mode in this movie. She is the antagonist here, and she is a good villain because her motivations are clear, we understand them, and she goes fucking nuts to try and achieve her goals. Like, they do not half-ass her villainy. And the thing is, even though I did not like how WandaVision worked out in its complete execution, it was an important and vital stepping stone to get to this point. We do not have... This isn't like fucking Daenerys in Game of Thrones, where they just went, hey, she gonna go crazy. This has been building up with what we have seen for how she has dealt with life, being experimented on by Hydra, falling in love with Vision, having to kill Vision in Infinity War, and then watching Thanos undo it and kill Vision again, come back 5 years later, trying to deal with it, create this fucked up thing with Westview, and then do away with it, and then reading the Darkhold, which is corrupting her and telling her all this thing, like, all this information, which, yeah, it's information, but, like, she's like, I'm gonna do this shitty bad shit, and just lose herself to it, as she then starts killing the sorcerers and everything in Camartage to get to her goal. And the thing is, she doesn't immediately, like, wipe their asses out. Like, they at least keep it to the plot of making sure that she's powered enough to be a fucking Terminator level fucking threat, movie monster kind of threat, but showing that she's like, yeah, she's the most powerful Avenger with what she can do, but not being like easy mode where she just starts fucking annihilating people out of nowhere, because we see them kind of putting up defenses and getting some good shots on her before she starts breaking through and everything. As they start trying to pull back, they try and lock her in the kind of mirror dimension, and then she starts doing some fucking like horror movie kind of shit, because they're in this one room and she starts pulling people in to the mirror dimension through reflections, and they're trying to like cover everything, but then Chavez kind of sees her, and then she comes out like the fucking Grudge chick through this fucking gong thing, and she's just like, it's like, holy fuck balls, Batman, this ain't cool. Yes, I know that's a DC thing, but fuck me, man. So, she then pretty much, it still kind of scares Chavez, and Chavez is able, her powers activate, her and Strange get pulled in, and then, she pretty much holds Wong hostage and is attempting to dream walk, which she's able to utilize this spell, find herself in like the multiverse, and then hijack that body to get to wherever she's going and do whatever she wants to do. So we see that Chavez and Strange are like going through all these various different dimensions, and they then land in one that we learn is eventually Earth 838. And it's like, okay, this is kind of interesting. It's kind of a little bit different. You go on red instead of green. They're trying to figure out all this stuff. She's like, listen, from what I've learned, we learned that this is like the 73rd world universe that she's been in. Whatever you think you know, you don't know. And always try and find food. It's always free, I think. And then it's like, yours was the one that I had to pay for. That was kind of weird. But then we see this cameo of Bruce Campbell be like, hey! Because she always tries to find pizza. And I'm like, okay, I get that. I'm like, I respect that. If I was thrown throughout multiverses and everything, pizza would be a good one to try and go for. And we see that she's still trying to, like, figure out everything, and he's like, hey, you gotta pay for that. And he's like, listen, sorry, okay, oh yeah, where'd you get that Doctor Strange get up from the museum? And then he uses his magic to pretty much make Bruce Campbell pretty much, like, hit himself constantly. And she's like, that'll stop eventually, right? Yes, in 3 weeks. And I'm like, god damn, Strange. But they're trying to figure out what's kind of going on in this world. It looks all kind of like green and everything, similar enough to our own that you kind of know what's going on. They're like, okay, in order to get back to our universe to like help Wong and stop Wanda, let's kind of find me of this universe to see kind of what's going on. And it's like, why were they talking about a museum or whatnot? They kind of walk along. They find this place that is able to access memories, and we see that Strange's kind of like best memory is when he had a dinner with Christine, and she's the one that gave him that watch that we've seen as a motif throughout the whole kind of movie series so far, and what it kind of meant to him is like, shit. Then we also see Chavez's memory of her mother's, and we see that she was pretty much a little girl, and she was having fun with her mother's, but then a bee kind of frightened her. It activated her powers, and it took her mother's away from her, thrown across the multiverse. And she's like, I probably killed them. They were probably thrown into a hostile environment, and they're dead. And Strange tries to comfort her and be like, listen, if they're anything like you, they survived. You just got to figure out how to find them. And it's really cool because I do like seeing Strange taking on these kind of mentor roles for these younger heroes. Granted, it works better in the comics to a certain degree because we've only seen Strange in his movie, and then we've seen him going through other ones. I would have liked to have a little bit more time to have it seem a little bit more natural to maybe others. However, if you're really invested in him as a character, it's nice to see him doing this kind of mentorship role with these characters. But he's like, yeah, don't worry, we'll do everything we can. So they get to this universe as Strange, and we see that he had died fighting Thanos, and he has this statue in his honor. And we see that the current Sorcerer Supreme of this world is Mordo. And he's like, my brother, come in. And he gets the lowdown, and they're trying to figure out, we need the Book of Vishanti, and because it's a book that is able to give a sorcerer what they need to defeat whatever kind of threat or obstacle is in their way. That is what they were trying to get at in the beginning of the movie. However, he's like, I'm sorry, Steven, you're the greatest threat to this universe at this point, and they were drugged with this tea. Let's see here. How to go about the next kind of stuff. We see that, let's see here. Wanda is trying to do the dream walking thing, and how did this work? Because she's attempting to see what's kind of going on dream walking wise, trying to get into different kind of universes to figure out where Strange and Chavez are. But we see that Wong is imprisoned. This woman kind of pops up that has survived. He's like, Wong was like, hey, get me out of here so I can destroy that Darkhold and we'll be done. And she's like, nope, I'm going to do it. So she goes up, she stabs it, and it annihilates her, it kills her. And this fucks up with Wanda. She's like, God damn it. So she pretty much gets the information out of Wong that the Darkhold is a copy, and that Mount Wundagore, which is an important mountain and place for Wanda in the comics, is the place where it was copied from. And they fly there. They can't teleport there directly. Wanda's like, this is fucking stupid, and then just drags him along, and we see that like this interdimensional being Chthon, Chthon? I don't know how to pronounce it. Kind of like a Cthulhu chaos creature, inscribed all of the things on there. We learned that it isn't a tomb but a throne for like the Scarlet Witch, and that there are kind of chaos creatures that inhabit there, and she's able to utilize everything and does her dream walking thing that kind of dovetails into what goes on later. So we pop in and we see that Strange and Chavez are locked up in these things. We see that this universe, 838's Christine Palmer, is part of the Baxter Foundation. When she name drops that is part of like the Baxter Building / Reed Richards / the Fantastic Four shit. So it's like, okay, that's what we're kind of setting up for this universe. And she's like, listen, we don't know what contagions and stuff are you guys bring. We have to make sure everything's all right. And he is cuffed with things that stop him from utilizing his magic. She's like interested to see the kind of differences that are between himself as Strange and the Strange that they had, and what kind of goes on with that, and how there's certain similarities but certain differences. Because right off the bat, there could have been this thing where they're like, hey, kill Chavez, but Strange didn't. And he just wants Chavez to get out of there because Wanda's the most important threat of what's kind of going on, because she'll bring ruin to the multiverse. And then we see that Mortal comes and says, the Illuminati will see you now. It's like, what's that? What the fuck? The Illuminati? Is that like your Avengers, your S.H.I.E.L.D., or your Hydra? What the fuck's going on here? And they've got their Ultron bots and everything, so they leave Chavez there and take Strange, and we are introduced to this world's Illuminati, which is essentially their Avengers. And we see that it has Mordo as the Sorcerer Supreme. We have Captain Carter, which, like it says from the What If, she got the Super Soldier Serum instead of Steve. She's got a Union Jack shield. We've got King Black Bolt of the Inhumans, played by Anson Mount, who played Black Bolt in the Inhumans TV show, but he's got a more comic book accurate costume and everything like that. We see that instead of Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel, we have Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel here. And then we, of course, are introduced to John Krasinski as Reed Richards, and he does a very good Reed Richards. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And we then later introduced to Charles Xavier, wheeled in a kind of like his floating wheelchair from like the TV show. So it's interesting to see the kind of mashups that goes on with this. And they pretty much give the lowdown that they're Stephen Strange. They were able to take out Thanos with the Book of Ashanti and take him out, but he had been dreamwalking and induced an incursion event that killed another universe, and they couldn't. And he was being corrupted by the Darkhold, and that their only way to stop him was to kill him. And Black Bolt utilized his voice, because if he speaks, that's his weapon. He says, I'm sorry, and annihilates Strange. And he kind of understands, but it's like, holy shit. Damn. That's a little bit different than the incursions that we have learned from the other book, like the comic books. Because in the comic books, it was like two universes that would collide, and then one would be destroyed over the other. This, it's like certain instances come into effect where that kind of is brought together for some odd reasons. Maybe because you've got two people from like a different universe kind of occupying the same space, which I'm wondering if that was kind of what was happening in No Way Home, even though they needed to kind of explain that a little bit better. I don't know. Like, say you got me and then you put me in another universe and there's another me there, and the thing is my universe is trying to like reclaim me or something like that, or the other one's trying to like figure out what's kind of going on, so they would kind of like bash together and one would win and one would die kind of effect. And Strange is like, yeah, but I'm not trying to do that kind of shit. I kind of want to go home and make sure that like Wanda doesn't do all the crazy shit, because she's going to kill you all, because she started killing all of the other people. Like, we could fucking handle a Scarlet Witch kind of shit. It's like, really? And Reed's I love Reed trying to explain it to him. It just works very well and fits within the cadence of like Reed Richards trying to explain the kind of stuff. Let's see here. Charles was the one that kind of wanted to give him a chance. He was able to kind of look into his mind and kind of see what's been kind of going on. And he's like, listen, do what you kind of need to do, try and get to, because the rest of them kind of left because they were going to be doing a vote and whatnot, because Wanda starts popping up, and Xavier tells him about the kind of waypoint to the book that his predecessor in this universe did. And the thing is, he had also gotten a hole in the Cloak of Levitation, and they kind of patch it with this universe's cloak. It's not a big thing, but it's an interesting kind of thing. So while they're kind of going on with that, and Stranger's like, you stupid bastards, whatever, and he's not trying to be arrogant, though granted, Stranger's arrogance kind of comes off with this. However, Wanda then utilizes dream walking and takes over 838's Wanda, and that's done really fucking creepy, because we see the kids having a nice old time and everything like that, wanting more ice cream, trying to sing songs to get ice cream, but then we see things kind of going wrong and kind of creepy and everything, and then we see 616's Wanda take her over. Her eyes change a little bit. Her look directly at the camera, freaky ass like. I'm like, oh shit, this ain't gonna be good. And then she just fucking goes warpath on the Illuminati's headquarters. And it is interesting that like 838's Wanda does have powers, but she's got a more kind of domestic lifestyle, and we don't see Vision anywhere. So we're not quite entirely sure how her children came into being, but we'll have to kind of see if that gets like, well, it probably won't get fleshed out, because this is pretty much really kind of contained on this kind of thing. So the Illuminati go out to kind of face her. Reed tries to talk her down and everything, and she's like, well, do you have children? Yes. Is their mother still alive? Yes. Well, that's one part. First, he's like, listen, you're outnumbered here, and Black Bolt can just like say a word and like kill you. And she's like, how could he say anything without a mouth? And then it pans down, and his mouth is covered with skin, and he tries to say something stupidly, and his brain blows. Like, oh shit! Like, they do not, like, because this multiverse thing's kind of going on, deaths can be a little bit more free. However, there would still be consequences, because Wanda starts taking out and annihilates everybody except Mordo for this universe's Illuminati. So there could still be other heroes, but it's like, oh shit, because she goes crazy. Like the Black Bolt one, holy fucking shit. And then she's like, oh yeah, okay, Reed, you got a wife? Oh, at least I'm not leaving your kids alone. And then fucking takes his ass and fucking kills him. And like, he tried to do some of his like stretchy powers, that didn't help at all. She fucking spaghettied his ass and then fucking like toasted him. And then we pretty much see it's Captain Marvel and Captain Carter against her. Captain Marvel is able to utilize more energy-based powers and is able to kind of like handle her a little bit better, but she gets knocked out to a certain point, and then Captain Carter tries to do some kind of stuff, but then she gets like chopped in half with her own shield. It's like, holy shit. And she's played by the same actress who's played Peggy before, and she does a good job. Now granted, it's a little bit, and then she gets killed, but hey, continuity and stuff, it works at least better. It's like, god damn. And then Captain Marvel pops back in, but then Wanda still kills her ass with a giant statue too. It's like, god damn. Like, Wanda has power, but they at least have enough to showcase that she has to expend effort to kill these people. Like, we see her being like, I'm tired of you getting in my way for this shit. And while this is going on, we see that Charles leaves the room. Strange goads Mordo into fighting him, and they have a little kind of tussle in this little kind of place, like this little thing in the front of the Illuminati's kind of like voting chamber? You want to call it that? But then Strange is able to get out as Mordo's like, I understand why your universe's Mordo fucking hates you. Well, granted, like, doesn't like you. But he's able to get out. Christine is trying to get Chavez out, and we see that she is able to kind of utilize her powers a little bit more, because she has more than just multiversal teleportation. She kind of cracks the glass in a star shape, kind of similar to what she's able to utilize with her teleportation powers. So we see that she is kind of getting a little bit more control of her powers. I mean, granted, it's still a stressed up situation as the Scarlet Witch is coming to, like, kill her ass. But it's a little bit better. Because I could understand why certain people would think that she kind of Mary Sue's in this, but she really doesn't. she just gets to a point, she does get to a point where she's able to kind of like control her powers better. And I wish there's a little bit kind of more kind of shown of how she kind of gets there, but it's kind of mainly done throughout trying to be like, hey, somebody believed in her and had faith in her, and just like, hey, listen, I know it's scary, you've got the power, I believe in you to control it. And that kind of gives her the confidence to kind of do it later on. So, as Wanda is pretty much getting ready to kind of like go for her ass, Charles pops up and uses his mind to kind of figure out what's going on. He tries to help out that universe's Wanda to get in, to like reassert control over her body, but then she still just kind of hides under some place where she's kind of trapped, and then Wanda's red smoke pops up creepy like, and she fucking breaks Charles's neck in her mind and has killed Charles Xavier in that universe. And it's like, shit. But she wakes up and she doesn't see them. It's like, god damn it. They're kind of running around, and then they get into with Strange. He gets his cloak back. They're running through these kind of tunnels under this river, and Wanda's running after him like some Evil Dead thing, red glowing eyes, utilizing everything, blasting through walls and everything. Strange is like, alright, cool, sorry Wanda, I hope in this universe you live through this, and then pretty much brings down the river to kind of like stymie her. And they get to the kind of waypoint, and Christine is like, okay, listen, it's behind this, I don't know what you're gonna have to do what you try and do. And of course Strange kind of uses the Eye of Agamotto and is like his magic. What the fuck's going on? And she like points it out that it's like the watch kind of thing. She brings out that she had held it from Strange. They utilize it to open it up. It takes them to the point in the beginning of the movie. They kind of bring themselves into there, and they're trying to get to the book, but Wanda pops up, takes America Chavez, burns the book of Vishanti. But the thing is, before it kind of burns, we see that it has a star pattern, so it's like, okay, maybe they already have what they need to defeat the Scarlet Witch. Utilizes her power without killing her, and throws Christine and Strange through the portal to kind of like get rid of them. Let's see. And then throws America Chavez to 616 and lets control of that Wanda go as she like goes back to her kids. So Strange and Christine are now in this kind of place where like two universes have collided after an incursion event, and like, all right, I'll try and find my dude and see kind of what goes on there. And they get to it, his Sanctum Sanctorum, and we see that there's a Strange up there. And Christine stays outside while Steven goes in, and he starts talking with this other Strange, which is the Sinister Strange. And he's like, alright, how do I know you're me? He's like, well, we start learning that Strange had a sister, and that they were on this like ice for this lake, and that she fell in, and that she died, and that there was nothing that Strange could do to save her. Showing this kind of thing of like, he couldn't save someone and has to try and get all this kind of control. And it's like, wow, okay, that's really kind of cool, and gives me even more to kind of empathize with Strange. It's like, I get that brother-sister kind of thing. And then he sees that this Strange has the Darkhold. He's like, I tried to do everything to save this universe, and it didn't work, and he's been corrupted by the Darkhold. And he's like, yeah, and then I just started going killing other Strangers, you know? There's kind of Strangers that you, those dreams you have where you're falling. Yeah, that's me. And he's like, then we see this epic kind of battle as they're utilizing sheet music and magical notes as spells and shit. This was really kind of cool. I was like, holy shit. Well, we see that Sinister Strange has a third eye open up, and they're fighting over the Darkhold to kind of utilize it. And the thing is, Strange is able to get the upper hand and tosses Sinister Strange out the window, and he falls and he impales himself. And Christine's like, holy shit. Because Sinister Strange is like, hey, just give me that Christine and I'll give you the book. And he's like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. And it's like, holy fucking shit. And we see that Wanda is getting ready to try and do stuff. And we see that Wong was pretty much thrown off of the cliff and is kind of dealing with what's going on. And he was knocked out for a little bit, and then he comes to when things start getting nutty. Let's see. So Strange is like, all right, Christine, I'm going to need your help. I'm going to utilize this to dreamwalk, and I need you to like keep the spirits of the damned at bay. And the thing is, Strange is not one who is. He sometimes utilizes dark magic to fight things, and that's the kind of thing you have to watch out for what the price is of that magic. And the thing is, he wants to save America Chavez. And granted, it's also for the greater good of everything involved, but he wants to help her. And he utilizes the book, pretty much the Darkhold, Book of the Damned kind of thing. And you're like, alright, how's he gonna, like, dream walk? There's still a dead body in 616, and he pretty much necromancies that thing up and takes control of it. And the thing is, he's able to get to Wondergore, except the spirits of the damned are like saying, you can't do this, you can't take over a dead body like that. And they're trying to like fuck around with strangers, like, holy fucking shit, Christine's utilizing this fucking like urn thing to like blast a couple of them, and she's able to like get Strange back under control. She's like, listen, utilize them. And he then takes control of these damned spirits and flies to Wondergore in his zombified corpse. It's like, fucking shit, this is crazy ass shit, and this is working. And he then goes, we see Wong takes out one of the creatures, because they were pretty much gonna like, they were looking at what Strange was kind of doing coming at him, and then the others were gonna toss rocks at him, but of course Strange pops up, utilizes these crazy ass spirits, tries to get him to like contain and control Wanda to stop her from doing what she's trying to do. And we see that Wong's like, we can't hold her, you have to take her power. And it's like, damn it, why? It's like, I understand the good of the many and everything. However, once you get to the point that you are going to sacrifice someone, and a child, granted, she's like young, early teens, late 20s at most. But once you start doing that, where do you fucking stop? And then what is it worth saving a world where you're like, I'm just gonna sacrifice people because that's the way it needs to be? No. And Strange is like, I'm not doing that. So he then gives the pep talk to America. He's like, listen, I believe in you. Utilize your powers. You got this. And then, of course, Wanda breaks free. Chavez starts utilizing her powers and starts kind of like fighting back on her. And she's like, listen, I'm going to give you what you want. And then we see that she sends Wanda to 838. And she's trying to get close to her kids, but they're afraid of her because she's this crazy person that's utilized and hurt their mom, because the mom tries, of course, 838's Wanda tries to come in. She like flicks her away with barely any thought. And they're like, no, you're scary, you're a monster. She's like, I'm a monster, I don't want to hurt anybody. And she's been murdering and like hurting and maiming people throughout this movie, and she finally gets it, and she starts like breaking down even more and understanding all the horror that she's actually wrought. And that's an emotional scene. It's like, god damn, because I'm like, you need to be stopped, Wanda. People could have helped you, but you're like corrupting yourself. You're corrupting that area that you had, and you're going to kill a girl for your own gain, to get to kids that aren't yours, to steal them from their mother. And it's like, yes, those kids that you could have had with Vision can't exist because Vision's dead in your universe. And that's sad, and that's horrible. And I'm sorry that has hurt you and given you pain, but just because you have that pain doesn't mean that you can inflict that pain and other traumas onto other people. And there's better ways to deal with it. And she's like, oh god. And even like the other one is like, I'm sorry. And like the thing is, Chavez was going to kind of leave her there, but like Strange is like, hold on, wait for it. And then they kind of bring her back in, and they try and pretty much figure out what they need to do to like get Strange back and all that. Chavez can utilize her powers to her fullest extent now. Well, not the full. She has control of her powers. Probably not to the fullest extent. We don't completely utterly know that. And one is like, I'm going to like get rid of this and destroy all the Darkholds across the multiverse, because she starts destroying Wondergore, and like we see all the other copies destroyed. We see Steven wake up. It's like, wow. And then that Darkhold disappears. We see that Chavez and Wong leave before Wanda destroys Wanda and has it crash down on her as it looks like she kills herself. And because of all of her grief and all of the things that she's done, she couldn't really move on from it. And it's sad. I'm glad she stopped, and I wish that there was a better way for her to, like, move on. But sometimes people can't move on from those things. And we'll have to see how that kind of works out and how that kind of shakes out, if she's actually dead or not. But one, I need to see a body, and two, even if I see a body, since this is comic book movies and comic book kind of lore and stuff, I don't believe you're dead until you're dead. So then we see Strange talking with Christine, and he, like, pretty much brings up that, like, he was scared of getting together with his Christine, and that was kind of like what stopped him, like having to have that kind of control. But we see that he has relinquished that control and helped Chavez reach her potential and actually save all these universes. And Christine is like, you know what? Face your fears, Doctor Strange, and everything like that. Something to that effect, and it was like really poignant. I'm like, all right, cool. And then we see that. Well, then it shifts to Kamar-Taj as they're like rebuilding and everything, and Chavez is training to learning the mystic arts, and she's not getting it exactly. She's only sparking up and everything like that. Wong's commenting on how she's very impatient. Like, she just has to learn some patience, even though he was like impatient as shit when he was doing his shit. It's kind of cool to see that kind of circle stuff. And he talks with Wong about like if he's happy and everything. He's like, well, I'm grateful for what I've got, and having them have that kind of cool moment, and Strange bowing him as the Sorcerer Supreme as he's kind of walking to leave. And Shaw was like, hey, yeah, it's working out pretty well, making some sparks and everything. He's like, alright, cool. And they just have their kind of nice little moment as he then goes off to do his kind of stuff. And it kind of gets to the end as Chavez continues her training. I'm like, alright, cool. That'd be kind of cool to see her take on like the Sorcerer Supreme mantle or learn other kind of mystical arts and stuff as well. So I'm like, yes, I like her. I want to see more of what they do with her, and I'm interested to see how she like continues on in the MCU. Then we see that Strange is like, all right, cool, new me. Let's see kind of what's going on. And then he's like walking out in his usual kind of street get up before he then starts screaming, and then we see an eye pop on his forehead, i.e. showing that there are repercussions of utilizing the Darkhold. Now granted, having a third eye is not a bad sign. Usually that means your mind's eyes open, that you have more access to knowledge, you see other things as well. But it was kind of freaky and done kind of more horror-like, so we'll have to see how that kind of works out. And then we go into the credits, and we get to the first post-credit scene, where we see that he's just kind of like walking around, and then we see an important character pop up. Now, they don't say her by, reference her by name, but she's dressed in the similar getup of Clea, who is normally Doctor Strange's wife and romantic interest. He's got a few, but that's the big kind of one. She's actually the Sorcerer Supreme in the Strange comics right now. And she pops up like, Doctor Strange, you're responsible for an incursion, and you're going to help me for it, because it looks like she's going to, like, do something and kill him with her purple energy blade. Another kind of cool thing. I like that they use a lot of different colors for energies for magic in here. And this Clea is played by Charlize Theron, and she does a really good job for what's there. It's very small, but I'm like, ooh, okay. And the thing is, Clea is the niece to Dormammu. She is of the Faltine race. And it's like, ooh, okay. And she's like, you're going to help me. And she opens up a thing to the dark dimension. He's like, all right, cool. And gets into his get up. We see his third eye open up. So he's got more control over that. So we'll have to see what that kind of does as they then go off to do that. Then you could stop there if you wanted to. The next post-credit scene doesn't really have anything interesting. It's just payoff. Because we then see Bruce Campbell, he's like hitting himself, and then he stops. He's like, it's over! It's over! So it's a kind of funny little joke of like, that thing is over, and the movie's over, and you can leave. And I was like, alright, cool. That's a good post-credit scene. I like the cameos and everything, and I liked how the horror vibe worked, and how the characters' motivations were personal and worked very well, and you could understand what was going on. We saw Strange dealing with all these different kind of things throughout his various incarnations and variants, learning more about him as he's going through this multiverse. This is how you utilize the multiverse well to tell these kind of personal stories of like Wanda just utilizing her pain to justify doing all these horrible things, and Strange learning kind of about himself and learning that in order to kind of help certain people, instead of like taking the complete control himself, he's got to give them the faith and the belief that he knows that they can achieve a certain thing, rather than to be like, I'm going to kill this person for the greater good. That never ends out well, especially when it's the person not doing whatever the fuck is going on wrong. It's like, granted, I understand the difficulty of like, hey, kill this kid who can't control their powers, or kill the ultra powerful Uber Witch. But the thing is, the kid's not doing fucking shit. Granted, they can't control their power, but at a certain point they could. And granted, it is fucking horrible and difficult to try and kill Wanda because of like her reality altering powers, but stop her as you can. I loved how they were. You gotta have that balance of personal conflict and like stakes, and they're able to interweave it while doing nice escalation, and it just worked well. The effects and graphics really did a great job of like showcasing everything going on with the magic. The costuming for various different things throughout the multiverse was awesome. I just love this movie because it really hit well, and I'm like, okay, can Sam Raimi do another one, please? I'm like, hey, fuck yeah, definitely Doctor Strange. I mean, shit, if he just wants to do other kind of weird Marvel properties, fucking let him. I'm like, yes, please. I hoped that this movie would be good, and I was pleasantly surprised and blown away with what occurred. I tried to avoid as many spoilers as possible, and I succeeded, and I'm like, alright, cool. Now, granted, those of you that have been iffy with what's been going on with Marvel Phase 4 and don't mind spoilers, cool. I'm glad this is here for you, so that way you could be like, I don't care about this, it's alright, and see if you're going there. Because Phase 4's been rocky. Alright? Like, I liked Eternals and Shang-Chi, even though they had their problems, we're getting some new shit established. Black Widow was like, no. Spider-Man No Way Home fucking did some crazy-ass shit that really shouldn't needed to happen, even though it had, like, the nostalgia stuff of seeing all the Spider-Men doing their shit. I'm like, no, you did no. Granted, it wasn't to the exact level of, like, technical fuckery that also occurred in Black Widow, but you nipping at the heels, man. This one was just a really fucking good Marvel movie. I fucking enjoyed it, and I loved what they were able to do to showcase Doctor Strange. And I liked Doctor Strange's origin movie. I thought it was really good. And this is just better. I'm like, yes. You focus it, you get into the good shit, you get them established, you start running on stories and shit. Yeah. So, I'm really glad with this, and I can't wait to see where they kind of go with it, and what kind of ramifications or repercussions we'll have with that within the MCU. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.